Hi.
Hello, how are
Hi.
you?
I'm okay. Look, we made it
We made it on the first try.
on the first round. Yeah, so this is good. I thought that yesterday was a bit of a challenge, and I don't know whether it was the
It was just to stress us out, but now it's working.
yes, it's working. How are you doing?
All good, all good. I
By the
hope
way,
you too.
how do you pronounce your name? Anais or Anais?
Yes, Anais. Perfect.
Anais.
Yes.
Anais. Okay. Anais. So that we don't mess up with your name. Are you already live?
Yes, unfortunately, there's no way to start it. Like when it's live. But I think people will join in a few minutes. So for now, we okay. Someone
Okay.
just joined us, but some people.
No,
Is
no problem.
everything okay on your side?
Yeah, everything is okay. I thought if you wanted me to use like a PowerPoint, I would be happy to do that, but otherwise I'm just okay doing it dry like this.
If you want to use one of your PowerPoint? If you want, you can. You just have to share your screen. It's up to you.
Okay, I can share my screen actually.
Yeah.
At least
So
it makes sense. It makes sense to give people something to look to
of course. So
rather
if
than
you want,
you just. Pardon?
yeah, you can try now, just before we
Share
start. And
screen. Let's see.
hello, Clave. Hello, Zaina.
Window. This one. You let me know if you can be able to see that.
Yes, we can.
Is it in
Yes.
presentation mode?
No, I can still see the PowerPoint. It's not on presentation mode
So
yet.
the PowerPoint is not in presentation mode.
Like, no, I can still see the like all the features of PowerPoint. I don't know. Yeah, this one. I think if you click on your mouse.
Is that any better? No.
It's still the same.
Okay.
Oh, I think I understand. Stop sharing.
I
You
stop
can.
sharing.
Yes. So when you want to share your screen, you need to choose either Chrome tab, window, or entire screen. If you do entire screen, I think that's better.
Okay,
So that,
entire screen is better. Let's try that.
yes. Yeah.
Share. And so when we do that, I go to this one. Is it now in presentation mode?
Yes, like this we can see it.
You can see all of it as a presentation.
Yeah, it's a presentation now. So
okay.
Perfect.
No worries. So let's just wait and.
Yes, 4 more minutes. We will wait and then we can start.
Yeah, we came in a bit early, so that is good.
Yeah. Okay.
Did I stop the presentation mode?
Yes. You're still sharing your screen, but
not in presentation mode.
No, not anymore.
Okay. Once we hit the time, I'll click on the presentation mode and let everything now flow.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. By the way, are you recording the event?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
that's good.
We're recording. Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Actually, is that okay if you if you stop sharing now, so that once we can start, we can participants can see you at first, and then once yes, so that they can see you at the beginning.
Oh, that's okay. I've stopped sharing, I believe.
Yes, you did. Perfect. I'm gonna.
So when it's time, I go back to share desktop. Okay.
Okay.
Just a minute. Polito. Ay, 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 ay. I hope that's much better. The lighting is good enough.
Yes, we can see you well.
Oh, you can see me well. That's good.
Okay. Okay, it's 2 now. Is that okay for you if we start?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I see that some of you have already joined us. We're glad to have you with us today. So, hello everyone, and welcome to our first live Ask Me a Question of 2025. We are really happy to start again this live series. As you know, this live is hosted on and by the founding community of practice. And today we will discuss about effective actions supporting rural communities, dismantling social, cultural, economic, and environmental barriers. These lives are really meant to be interactive and to avoid the usual webinar format, and to offer you, the participants, space where you can directly ask your questions to an expert, and also to share your experiences and your views on the theme that we explore. So I know that some of you are French speakers, but today the live is exclusively in English, but it will be recorded and also shared on the community of practice within the next days. And as I said, we highly encourage you to ask your questions. You can use the chat for that. And even if you are a French-speaking participant, you can write your question in French and I will translate it for Willis. Now, without further ado, I would like to welcome our expert for the day. So welcome to you, Dr. Willis Ochieng, and you are the Executive Director at Creates International, and I am happy to leave you the floor now for your presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anais. And good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, wherever you're watching from. It's such a pleasure to be here with you and share our experiences working in the community. My name is Willis Ochieng. I'm from Kenya, born and raised in Kenya, and I'm currently based in Atlanta, Georgia. Just to give you a little bit background about me, I have a PhD in agriculture education and communication with specialization in agriculture extension from the University of Florida in the US, and a master's in sustainable international development from Brandeis University, that's also in the US, and a bachelor's degree in agribusiness management from the University of Nairobi. And that is a little bit about me education-wise. In terms of our work, I've been the Executive Director for the Center for Rural Empowerment and Agricultural Transformation for Sustainability, CRITS International, for the last 10 years. Without further ado, let's delve into it because we have very limited time, and I think it would be more important when we leave more time for questions and answers. That's like Anay said, that's what makes this opportunity different. So CRITS started off as a community-based organization in 2015, and by a group of young people. We were asking ourselves what could be our contribution in the community, because we realized that as much as there was some good research being done in the community, there were great technologies being disseminated, the communities were not adopting them at the rate that they should. But we realized that as if the communities can adopt these technologies, then they can actually turn around their lives and address issues of poverty, hunger that was permeating our communities and is still permeating our communities. So we did some sort of research to understand what was the challenge in terms of adopting the technologies. We realized that the way research was being communicated was very technical and not culturally appropriate. So we wanted to come in and be the missing link between the researchers, extension agents, and the farming community, so that research is actually demand-driven, community-centric, but at the same time, we relay to researchers the problems that are facing communities. With that being said, so the bulk of what we do as an organization is agricultural capacity development or extension services. You understand how critical this is, important this is. According to research, shows that access to agricultural extension services improves agricultural productivity by between 20 to 25%. And that is very, very important, especially right now when we are facing issues of climate change and other challenges in our communities in general. And so as an organization, beyond agricultural capacity development, like I said, our vision is to actually give the community the tools and the resources and the opportunities to be able to thrive in their communities without leaving anyone behind. And that means that we are dismantling the social, the cultural, the environmental barriers that the communities are facing. And how do we do this? Like I said, we do that through capacity development as well as linkages to critical resources that the communities need. Anais, I didn't share the PowerPoint, but I'll share it to just give you something to look at. Yeah, so some of the activities that we do, like I mentioned, is agricultural capacity development is one of the major things that we do. And we training community on different aspects of agriculture, and we take that holistic approach from farm to fork, which means that we train on agricultural production, processing, value addition, and market access. So in terms of linkages, we also provide linkages, and those linkages, we broadly classify them into three categories. The agricultural inputs, where we help farmers every planting season. We give farmers seeds, fertilizer, and right now we're also trying some small farm machineries to change the way we do agriculture and indirectly attract more young people into agriculture, because no one wants to go to school and then come and start the back-breaking manual labor that our grandfathers used to do in agriculture. So we are changing things. Right now we have a garden seeder and a cultivator that we are trying, and with more resources we are able to expand this and change the way we do agriculture. So the second agricultural linkage that we provide is financial linkages. We do not necessarily have financial resources we give to communities, but we take that partnerships approach where we work with financial institutions, banks, microfinance institutions, circles, and other nonprofits that have resources that they want to cascade to the community. Our work is to listen to those opportunities and bring them back into our communities. So like last month, we organized a grassroots agriculture expo. This is not like the typical agriculture expo that you'd expect to see when you go to Netherlands or Nairobi at the KICC. It's the grassroots level agriculture expo where the community members with very limited education come to engage with the agricultural input providers, extension workers, like everyone working along the community development space. And what this does is it gives the people the opportunity to interact, ask questions, on how can they access financial resources. And I'm glad that Equity Bank came, Cooperative Bank was their top cream, a number of other organizations that were able to talk to farmers directly and address their financial challenges. You know, across Africa, access to credit is one of the challenges that inhibit so many people, especially young people and women, from accessing agricultural productivity or even land in general. The third linkage that we provide is market linkages. A lot of the times when we go into communities, we have that deficit mindset that we are going to help them. But one thing you really do realize is that communities have resources. If you look deeply, they have resources that you can tap into to help them help themselves. So we take that approach where we go into these communities and leverage on, for instance, in Kenya, in rural communities we work on, there's that bonding, the social capital that we tap into, where we work with self-help groups, cooperatives, to be able to advocate for better prices and put more money into farmers markets. Where there are no cooperatives or where there are no self-help groups, we bring them together and form those groups to be able to help them advocate for better prices, but also just be able to support each other, because, you know, farmers learn better when they work together or from other farmers. So in addition to that, we also support small enterprise development, where we strengthen their capacity in terms of records keeping, business planning, financial literacy. Like I mentioned, we need to change the way we do agriculture from the traditional lens to more commercial-based lens. And that means that we have to keep proper records. That means that we have to approach financial institutions and ask for financial resources. And with proper records, so let's say, for instance, if you have only one dairy cow, but you're able to manage and show us that, hey, with this dairy cow, this has been my production, this is what I've been able to achieve, and with more resources, I can be able to go here. I mean, this is the direction I want to take. So it becomes easier when we loop you back to the financial institutions, that you have proper records that you can show and tell us that you're running your business or your agriculture as a business and not as just something that you're doing for the sake of it. In addition to that, we also work on environmental conservation. Let's be real. Climate change is affecting us in so many ways. In our communities, for instance, where we work in, a time like this last year, it was very, very hot, like dry. And then 2 months down the line, we had droughts. I mean, we had flooding, which swept a lot of stuff and brought a lot of destruction. And so if you can think about it, that on one hand, communities are drowning, but on the other hand, they're also burning. And so it means that we have to prepare our communities with the tools and resources to be able to withstand effects of climate change. How do we do this? We do this through a number of initiatives. We do tree planting. Last year, for instance, we planted over 10,000 trees. This year, we look forward to doubling that, because we've supported a number of self-help groups to start their own tree nurseries. I was just with one of the groups that we helped start tree nurseries last week, and I see that this is going very well. And so we know that we'll have more resources to be able to do more tree planting activities. We also promoting climate smart agricultural practices, including vermicomposting, biochar, black soldier flies. These are initiatives that, when well taken care of, they're not only good livelihoods, sources of livelihoods, but they're also helping communities adapt to effects of climate change, build their own resilience to climate change. Also, we are promoting drought-tolerant crops, such as cassava, sorghum, millet, and traditional vegetables. When I was growing up in Western Kenya, these are the things that we used to grow. We used to eat growing up: millet, sorghum. But then along the way, something shifted, and we stopped eating these vegetables, even the crops that we are currently promoting. But now we realize that climate change is affecting us so much that we have to rethink and reshift the way we do things. And this is why we are promoting these kind of initiatives, to be able to prepare our communities to adapt to effects of climate change and enhance their resilience in general. In addition to that, we also work on water and sanitation. I have to mention, this has not been our focus, but again, our approach as an organization is taking that relationship building, doing community needs assessment so that we understand what are the challenges people are facing, what are the felt needs in these communities, and how best do we help them? Because the truth is people have solutions. If you ask them, then you realize that they have solutions. So from this conversation, we realized one of these communities, they told us, for us, the challenge we have is we don't have water, and we walk 12 kilometers just one way to get, 12 kilometers to get water. And that kind of triggered our initiative to be able to start digging boreholes in the community and helping people access clean water. So if you think about this water borehole, for instance, you can only see that woman, but let's think about the numbers and the livelihoods behind these numbers that we talk about, the 600 households that are now accessing clean water. It's the time that it unlocks for women to be able to engage in other income generating activities. It's the time that it unlocks for young girls to be able to pursue education, but also protect them from the sexual and gender-based violence that happens along the way when they're walking all those 12 kilometers to fetch water. So all these things are essentially aimed at improving the livelihoods and the living standards of the communities that we work in. Lastly, we also work on environmental, advocacy, policy advocacy, where we work with the national government, the county government, to be able to enact policies that are supportive to young people, women, people with disabilities, so that everyone's hand is on the deck, because development cannot be done in silos. And let's be real, no country has developed from NGO or anything of that kind. The honors of development falls on the government, and that's why we have to work with the county government as well as the national government to enact policies that are supportive to these different groups, and so that everyone's hand is on the deck. And I have to mention that everything that we do as an organization, we've some sort of research to understand what is going, what are the cultural, societal, the economic nuances that could in one way or the other impact our development and our work in the community. And that helps us to make sure that the development interventions that we are proposing are culturally appropriate, gender specific and context specific, and in a way helping communities move from surviving to thriving. So I know you might be asking, so what has been your impact? Our impact for the last 10 years has been great, considering that we are a small organization. Every planting season, we provide seeds and fertilizer to more than 30,000 households. If you multiply that by the number of households, in the community, average six people per household, you can tell how many people we are helping. But you look at this in terms of food security, how many people we've prevented from going to bed hungry. This tells you our impact in the community has been very, very huge. We also support last year, we supported more than 1,200 smallholder farmers and businesses, young people, women, to start some sort of businesses, or even expand whatever businesses they were engaged in before. I also mentioned that we dug one borehole which improved access to water for more than 600 households in the community. Generally, our work is aimed at improving well-being. And how do we do that? By dismantling the social, cultural, as well as the economic barriers that these communities are facing. And lastly, what could be your role in our work? The truth is that development cannot be solved in silos. We cannot solve our challenges in silos. We have to talk to each other. The reason as to why we've taken too long without addressing issue of poverty and hunger in our communities is because everybody's dancing in their own corner. But we need to come together and talk to each other and share our resources, share knowledge, and be able to address some of the challenges that communities are facing. I'll stop there because we need to provide more time for Q&A, and yes, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you. Over to you, Anais.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Willis, for this introduction. As you said, now we will open the Q&A. So I am turning to the participants. If you have any question, or if you would like to share your views or an experience that you have related to what Willis just introduced, you can add it to the chat. I have a lot of questions for you, Willis, but it's even better if the questions come from the participants. I would like also to add a set of questions also for the participants. Maybe it can open a discussion, but I will start with my first question to you, Willis. You ended your presentation mentioning the impact of your work at Creates International. Can you maybe share one of the most impactful success stories from Creates International's initiatives? Maybe one or two stories that are showing the impact of your work?
So a nice thing again. Thank you so much. Like I mentioned, our impact is reverberates across the communities that we work in. It would be very difficult to pinpoint and say this has been the most important impact. But for me, what is memorable for me is the water thing, the borehole that we constructed. Because if people were walking 12 kilometers, I had this grandma. I spoke to her last time when I was there. Like, we used to walk these 12 kilometers just to get water. But now this has lessened the time that we go looking for water, because that also unlocks opportunities for them to engage in income generating activities. But most importantly, that water, they are using it for planting vegetables and selling those vegetables. So for me, that means so much, because then we have simple interventions that are actually transforming lives. And so I would say that has been something very, very dear to my heart. But beyond that, there's also a lady called Ruth. So Ruth has been selling these tree seedlings by the roadside for the last 20 years, but very, very small. But when we took her in and started training her on better practices, record keeping, and doing everything that I mentioned, business planning, we connected her to Equity Bank. She got a loan that she is able to now expand, and we are seeing that her business is growing, and she's supporting her children and her household in general. The husband is now part and parcel of the business, and I feel proud of these very limited interventions that we have that really goes a long way in unlocking opportunities for women and young people in the community.
Thank you very much. Just considering what you just mentioned about the empowerment of youth and women and their inclusion, what roles do women and youth play in Creates empowerment initiatives, and how can we ensure their greater involvement? Can you tell us more about the women and youth inclusion, and why is it so important to include them?
That's a great question. Let me start off by saying that our organization is a youthful organization. As you can see, myself, I'm young, and our team members are actually mostly young people. That doesn't mean that we are excluding them, older people, but it just means that we started as a community, as a youthful organization, and that has been our focus. And we also majorly work with women, because we work with women in groups. So inclusion is very critical to the work that we do. And that if you can remember what I mentioned, is that we do this sort of policy advocacy where we want to bring everyone's voices to the table. Development cannot be solved in silos. You don't know what I'm experiencing until you ask me. So this is why it's important that we bring everybody's on the table. We don't know. I'm not blind. I can't know what a blind person feels until I bring them to the table to tell me, hey, this is exactly what I feel, or this is what it means to be blind in this country. So until we bring everybody on the table, the discussion table, and we take their voices, elevate those voices as a policy intervention, then we cannot solve our development challenges. And why are women and young people important to the work we do? Because they're the future. If you look at the population of Homa Bay, for instance, 50%, more than 50% is young people, and women. So that means that they're the future of of our country. And so we need to give them the resources and the tools to be able to address their own challenges. Unemployment for young people is a big challenge across Africa. Okay, we need to give those people, because they are the future of our generation, but they are also the present of our countries. Yes.
Of course, yeah, inclusion is a key factor to achieve best practices. We have a question from Zaina. She mentioned the use of biodegradable materials instead of plastic bags in respect to protecting the environment. Is it a practice that you have at Creates International, or something that you promote with the person participating to your initiative?
So that's a good question. I would be curious to learn where Zaina comes from, because in Kenya they actually banned the use of plastic bags. So we don't have plastic bags in Kenya. If you're actually caught using plastic bags in any sort of form, then that becomes a problem. But yes, we currently use those biodegradable materials for planting in our on all the groups that we are working with. Like I mentioned, one of the groups called Kanyado, a women group, they just starting this, and we were getting them those biodegradable plastic bags that they can use for tree planting. And that has actually been a challenge for them, because the government banned the use of plastic bags, but did never provided like that information. Where else do we get the alternative that you're promoting? So we are working with these groups to help them access those resources. I don't know if that answers your question.
I'm sure it does. And Zaina, if you want to share with us where you come from, you can also add it on the chat. And since we are mentioning the environmental efforts, according to you, Willis, what are the strategies that are the most effective in engaging rural communities in environmental conservation efforts?
The most effective strategies, I believe, is, first of all, building relationships. Building relationships is the core of our interactions, because we have to understand people's aspirations and where they want to go to, and that also helps us to understand how do they think. Why do they do the things that they do? If it's about environmental conservation, why are they doing it, or why they are not doing it, right? And so with that, it helps us to, starting from that relationship building is very critical in ensuring that we are able to help communities adapt to climate change. But also beyond that, also tapping into their local indigenous knowledge, because sometimes we tend to negate this knowledge, but it's very powerful. I just watched a video somewhere, I think maybe one of you might have seen it, where this traditional knowledge, where they're using, I don't know, whatever they're doing to do hydrological survey, just a tree or something, they work with it and they try doing hydrological survey. That's powerful. I mean, I didn't know such thing was happening. But then you realize that in these communities, there's some indigenous knowledge, traditional knowledge that we can tap into to conserve the environment. And so we do not need to negate or throw away the traditional knowledge. We need to use it, leverage on it, tap into it, and use it as a skill set that we can use to help our communities adapt to climate change. But most importantly, it's also availing resources, because resources are a big challenge. I see one of the groups that came for our agriculture expo called Reformer. They do an incredible job doing beekeeping along Wire Forest in Kenya, in Oyugis. But you realize that the challenges, they face a lot of challenges in terms of financial resources to be able to even promote their products. You see, so these are some of the things that we can tap into to help communities adapt to climate change. Yes. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, it's also thanks to the technology, we are able to learn from the resilience of rural communities, and by sharing their practices, with their key knowledge of their land, It's a way for us to understand that there's other ways possible to deal with some issues, and that's great that we have this technology also to be able to learn other practices. Zeina mentioned that she's from Senegal, so not Kenya. That maybe explains why. And we have a question also from Egid, who wanted further details about the beneficiaries of Creates International. What do they do in return to your services? Is there any kind of return activity, or is if you can tell us more about the return of the beneficiaries?
The beneficiaries, we do not anticipate anything back from the communities, just as long as they're able to adopt these technologies and improve their lives and livelihoods. So that is the return that we are getting from them. The fact that they're able to feed their children, mothers are able to take care of their children, and young people are able to take care of themselves, get jobs, create jobs in their communities. I think for us, that's the biggest thing. Improve livelihoods, improve the well-being in our communities, reduce issues of mental health. So those are some of the benefits that we are getting. We do not anticipate like monetary or anything from the communities that we serve, just to adopt the technologies that we are promoting.
Great, thank you. And can you tell us more about your relation with the beneficiaries? How do you enter a rural community? Is it easy for you to present Creates International activities? And did you find any difficulty of having beneficiaries to adopt your services? Can you tell us more about this relation that you have with the beneficiaries?
So that's a very interesting question that I've been thinking about for some time, how we do development and the types of approaches that we take. So fortunately, we started off as a community-based organization, so we are embedded at the grassroots level. We understand, people know us, and we know each other. And the other fact is we are not going anywhere. So if there's anything that goes wrong, they know where to find us, and that makes it easier for us to enter into these communities. But most importantly, how do we approach communities? Sometimes there are people who reach out to us. Like right now, we've had a number of communities. We've been working mostly in Homa Bay. We've had communities reaching out to us from Siaya County, from Migori County, and all this across Kenya. But we tell them, look, right now we are not where you are, but we will expand later on. We've actually had people calling us from Sierra Leone, and that is interesting. I've had people reaching out to us from Sierra Leone and Liberia, like, hey, how do we work together? But so our work in the community is focused on building relationships. So when we come into a community, we want to understand who you are. We want to build those relationships. We break bread. And by breaking bread as per our culture, that means that you trust people. When you invite me to your house, we break bread and talk about your issues and talk about my issues. We kind of find somewhere in a middle ground to work with. And that has been one of the ways that we are getting communities to trust us and work with them. In terms of adoption of the technologies, it's not been very easy. And I have to be very honest with you, because the way we do development, I put in a lot of work to be able to move this community, because I want to see something change in my lifetime. But I realized that that is not always the same for many organizations. There are organizations that give farmers handouts like, hey, you have to do this, come to our meeting, we'll give you money. Our organization doesn't do that. And that has been the challenge. So we tell them we only work with people who want to change their lives, not people who want short-term things. Then that has been effective, because we know that if you're coming to our meeting, there's no reimbursement that we are going to give you for just showing up. We are giving you knowledge, and that knowledge is supposed to turn your life around in so many incredible ways. And for me, that has been an effective way.
Good, thank you very much. So yeah, you said that the beneficiaries are always very much involved in the design and the implementation. Their voices are always heard to make sure that the needs, their specific needs, are met, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've already reached the end of this meeting. It's already we already passed half an hour. It's very quick, but I'm sure that if we have the opportunity, you could come back, Willis, to update us on the activities of Create International. And in fact, looking ahead, I wanted to ask you one last question. What is your vision for Create International? Are there some key actions that you would like to take for Create International to expand?
That's a great question, Anais. And first of all, thank you so much for inviting me and having me on your platform. It's always good to be in such platforms where we are sharing our thoughts and engaging with like-minded individuals. With that, the future of organization is we really look forward to growing to a model that other organizations can copy, where we do development that is actually development oriented, not short-term. We don't take that short-termism. So organization, we look forward to building that model where communities are given the resources. If it's about financial resources, let's link them to the financial institutions. If it's about seeds, let's give them the seeds and the fertilizer that they need to be able to produce. So our vision is to be able to expand, first of all, in Kenya. And we are exploring opportunities to expand to West Africa, particularly the countries I mentioned, Liberia or Sierra Leone. I'm really, really interested in expanding to those countries because I spoke, or even the Gambia, I spoke with one of the people there, and they're like, hey, we need seeds. It's still a challenge getting seeds. It's still a challenge accessing agriculture extension. And I understand how critical access to agriculture extension is. Like I mentioned, it increases agricultural productivity by 20 and 25%. So that's our vision, is to continue giving farmers these agriculture extension services in Kenya and Africa and beyond.
So there's a lot to look forward to then. There's still many actions to take on. And actually, Zaina also asked if you were thinking of training small family farmers in agroecology.
Oh, so we do that actually. We do that in Kenya. Like I mentioned, the biochar, vermicomposting. Those are forms of agroecology that we are promoting. Yes, unfortunately, Zaina is from Senegal, but we can always expand there. If she convinces me well, we can, instead of thinking about Sierra Leone, we can go to Senegal and work with them. Yes. I hope that answers that question.
Yes, thank you very much. I will now close the meeting. Thank you again, Willis. I know these events are very short, but it's already an introduction to your work, and you're always welcome to come back and give us some updates to let us know if Create International managed to expand as I'm sure it will. And so thank you very much also to all the participants and for your questions. It was very interesting to have this conversation with you. And yes, we had someone from Senegal, also from Ivory Coast, and from Burundi. So in different places.
Yes.
And of course, if you have further questions, you can always ask. Had a little post on the community of practice, and we will be happy to continue the conversation. Thank you again, Willis, and all the best for Create International. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you so much, Anais, and thank everyone for attending and engaging with us. Reach out to us should you need anything from our end. You can always find us, thecreates.org. That's our website. Reach out and contact me if you need any help. Thank you so much, Anais, and I look forward to our continued engagement.
Thank you very much. I wish you all a very good rest of the day. Bye, everyone.
Okay.